Hi Scorpios, welcome to your January 2020 Astrology 33 reading. Thank you to those of you who've liked, viewed, shared, subscribed, and donated to the channel. I appreciate all of that. And for those of you interested in booking a personal reading with me, if you do watch this at the time I first posted, I'm actually not going to be offering personal readings at that time. But when we actually do roll into the month of January, I should be picking up the personal readings by then. So if you're interested in that, just check out the description of the email for more info. As for what we have in front of us, we have a Celtic cross spread as always, and we have some oracle cards that we'll take a look at once we get through the main spread, and also a mudra card. So getting started with the main situation, we have the Emperor card. So this is actually a major arcana card for Aries, and I could see this playing out a few different ways potentially. One thing this could be pointing to is the fact that you guys have had Mars in your sign, and Aries is ruled by Mars. And in traditional astrology, they say that Scorpio is also ruled by Mars, so that's could be what this is pointing to here. Just saying that this might have been the energy that you've been in recently. Now, it will be moving into the sign of Sagittarius pretty early in January. So this could just be saying that, throughout that transit, though, while it was on your sign, which pretty much started a little bit past the mid-month point in November, that could just be saying that this is the energy you've been in. And for some of you, this could just be saying that you're actually dealing with an Aries, of course. That could be another way it's playing out. Given that this is your sixth house as well, this could just be saying that this is regarding a work situation. If that's the case, this could be how you view your boss, right? It's not that Emperor energy is a bad energy per se, but an Emperor energy isn't necessarily someone that you'd want to work for, right, in the workplace, because you might feel that they're a bit controlling. They don't want to listen to outside perspectives, right? Like their perspective is the only perspective that matters, so on and so forth. So it could be someone you're having some difficulty getting along with in that regard. And sometimes this can point to father figures as well. So for some of you, for example, maybe you got into a bit of a clash with your parents during holidays, right? That's another way it could play out. The challenger obstacle position, we have the Queen of Cups. So this is actually the court card for Cancer, but it can absolutely represent your energy as well, since you're also a water sign. So looking at these two cards together, one interesting angle that came to mind for me, and I don't think this will resonate for all of you, but maybe for some of you this will be the case. What this could be saying is that you might be feeling a bit imbalanced right now, and maybe it's really primarily due to that Mars energy, or maybe just having Mars moving through your sign brought it more to your attention. It might have brought the energy to the forefront, which is to say that for some of you, you might be, let's just say, a lot more comfortable in your masculine energy and not as comfortable in your feminine energy. So obviously you might hear a lot that people have both energies within them, right? Whether you identify as male, female, whatever, you have both your masculine and feminine energies. So the reason I say that is, the emperor, for one, is quote unquote higher ranking than the queen, right? So you have that. So that leads me to believe that this is that masculine energy that might be a little bit more progressed within you. And then the queen energy here, not only is it cups energy, but also this is the only cup within that suit where the cup is actually closed off. So it could just, and especially given that this is in the challenger obstacle position, it could just say that, you feel a lot more comfortable in your masculine energy than you do in your feminine energy. So that could be what's at play here. And like I said, maybe these transits are actually bringing that to your attention now. But I do have to say that pretty much this is the 8th sign that I'm doing for this month. And I would say at least 5 or 6 of them got a Cancer card in the challenge position. So that could just be pointing to astrologically the fact that we're going to have that full moon in the sign of Cancer in January. So that could be what's at play there too. Not saying that, you guys are all going to have Cancers in your lives that are annoying you. I doubt that's what it is at all. I think it's more energetic. But if we look at the fact that Cancer represents your 9th house, for some of you, it can be coming to a realization. For example, maybe you wanted to get a management position at your job, right? And then you realize that, oh, okay, in order to do so, I actually would need to further my education, right? Even if it's not formal education outside of the workplace, but it's just more, okay, well, if you want to be a manager, we have a program that we offer here that you have to go through, right? Maybe it's just a few months or something like that to learn how to take on the job correctly, and that would be the process that you'd have to take, right? So, because ninth house can sometimes represent that higher level education. So that could be what's going on there. You're like, all right, this is a position I'm interested in. More details come out. They let you know, well, this is what you would have to complete in order to do it, right? And maybe that's a bit of a challenge because you're like, all right, well, now I have to dedicate all that time and energy into that, right? Or maybe there's a wait in order to even get into the program, whatever the case may be. That could be what's at play for some of you. And for some of you within the relationship dynamic, that could also be what's playing out as well, where maybe the masculine energy is a bit more closed off, and then as a result, that might make the feminine energy close off even more. So that could be what's at play there. For example, let's say if this is your energy, since you are the cup element, let's say that there's someone you're interested in, but they might come across as a bit intimidating and closed off to you. So as a result, you don't necessarily let them know that you're interested, right? With that cup closed off there. It's like you might have feelings for them, but you might be worried about coming forward to them regarding those feelings. And maybe it's even someone within your workplace that you have a thing for. Maybe it's a boss or something, and you're like, I don't know, that might be crossing a line, right? All right, in the foundation position, we have the Nine of Swords. So, through all those 800 scenarios that is mentioned, whatever scenario fits your story best, I do see that with this in the foundation position, you're probably having a lot of anxiety around it. So, this definitely can represent some feeling of restriction around communicating. So, like I said, even if it's for those of you where both of these represent your energies and you just feel more comfortable in your masculine energy than in your feminine energy, maybe there is something you want to express in a more emotional sense, but you just feel so closed off from doing it, right? So maybe it's just really starting to get to you. Um, and you're getting this anxiety, maybe losing a lot of sleep over the situation, right? Just having that difficulty opening up to someone. So that could be what's at play for some of you. And if that's the case too, this might have been brought more to the forefront of your mind when you had that full moon in the sign of Gemini, because this is a Gemini card, and I'm pretty sure that full moon was within the middle 10 degrees, which is what this card represents. So that could be what that's even pointing to as well, saying that, maybe when that full moon kicked in, especially since for you guys, Gemini is your eighth house, and you guys are the natural rulers of the eighth house, it really might have just, exacerbated the issue to where you're like, all right, I really want to tell this person something, right? But I don't feel comfortable doing so. In the past position, we have the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. So this is actually a Taurus card, so this could definitely be pointing to a relationship that you were in and maybe you stopped putting in the work, right? Maybe you were even, well, I like to talk about these while I have it upright at least, but it wasn't reverse. But yeah, Seven of Pentacles coming up in reverse could just be saying that maybe it's a relationship you might even been in for, let's say, 7 years, right? Or 7 months, and then you decided to stop putting in the work toward it. Because maybe, again, maybe that was what it was, right? Maybe you felt like you guys were just coming at each other from totally different angles. Maybe you felt one of you was closed off, which made the other person close off, because Aries and Cancer energy, as a rule, pretty much they square each other. So there can be those clashes and difficulty getting on the same page sometimes. So maybe you just felt a little bit tired out by that, not wanting to put in any effort. Again, like I said, this could be within your workplace. Maybe this was you, getting to a certain point and realizing, well, is it even worth for me to continue, right? Because again, maybe you had a goal in mind, but then they let you know, well, you'd have to get more formal schooling to do so, right? So some of you might have been like, well, is it even worth to continue along this path, or should I look at a different path altogether? In the present position, a lot of cards came out. We got the Ten of Cups, which is a Pisces energy, Knight of Swords, which is a Gemini energy, Three of Swords, which is a Libra energy, and Queen of Swords, which is a Libra energy. So two Libra energies, but what this could be, well, there's a few different ways I could see this playing out. It's definitely like an odd combination of cards on the surface, but this could just be pointing to, again, a romantic relationship, right, with the Ten of Cups, especially since for you guys, this Pisces energy that represents your fifth house, which is often related to romance. And then what stands out to me is we have the Knight of Swords and the Queen of Swords, which on the surface you'd think they would get along great, right? But they're coming at each other from opposite. Well, really, obviously, the Knight's more the aggressor here. But they're moving toward each other, facing each other, and then in between them is that Three of Swords. So this could just point to, again, maybe, like I said, for some of you, maybe even having Mars in your first house, maybe there might have been some conflict within your romantic relationship, right? Especially because when it first got there, again, like I said, a little bit past the midway point in the month of November is when it got there, and I think I remember mentioning to you guys in your reading back then to watch out for when Mars was going to oppose Uranus in your opposite sign. So, for example, maybe around that time, there might have been some conflict within your relationship, and maybe now you're wanting to repair that, right? So that could be what's at play there, and that could even be the point as well, because what I always point out to people for me is the Knight of Swords, given that it is a Gemini energy. It tends to pop up a lot for me when Mercury's in retrograde. So it often makes me think of the Mercury retrograde energy, especially because we think about the way this card would lay in the spread, it always looks like it's going backward, right, as opposed to forward. So that could point to the Mercury retrograde energy might have caused a heartbreak, especially because Mercury was retrograde in your sign. All right, so maybe there was some heartbreak there. And now with that Libra energy, you want to put it back together, right? You want to repair the connection. And you're trying to figure out how to restore balance. And given that Libra is your 12th house too, that could be where you're a bit stuck in your head because you're like, okay, I don't know how to fix this, right? That could be what's at play for some of you. It's a pretty involved scenario there, but that's how it was playing out to me. For some of you, maybe it's even a Libra you were dealing with, and maybe now you're trying to come back in to fix the situation with them. Let's see if anything else comes to mind. And again, for some of you, this could also, similar to the theme I mentioned here with masculine energy, feminine energy, maybe this is you more realizing that, okay, well, when I've come from things from this more masculine type energy, right? If we think of the Knight of Swords, that would look more like the Emperor in this particular role, right? And then if we look at the Queen of Swords, that would look closer to the Queen of Cups energy. So maybe you're realizing, okay, well, this is where I want to ultimately be, right? When I've been coming from this energy, the more masculine energy, this has been the end result. So maybe I need to integrate more of this energy, right? So that, again, so it could be a repeat of that theme that we were saying there, but now you're actually putting in the work to do it. So like I said, it could be as simple as that full moon in Gemini might have brought this to your attention, and now you're putting in the work to actually make something happen around that. Interestingly enough, in the near future position, we have the Empress. So what that could be showing is either there is someone else in your circle, so now we would have the Emperor and the Empress, right? Naturally, they would make a good pair for each other. Or if this is more regarding your energy that we were talking about, maybe this is expressing that you have, figured out a way to incorporate more of that feminine energy, right? And maybe almost in a way you might have even flipped it where you were coming out of the more masculine energy, now you're more feminine. So eventually you regain that balance, but you might have been, might overcompensate in a way, like, okay, I was a bit too in my masculine energy, so now you might go to the other extreme to be a lot more in your feminine energy. And it could just be as simple as the fact that Mars, especially like I said, in ancient astrology, they considered Mars the ruler of Aries and Scorpio. So now as it moves into your second house, and second house is naturally ruled by Taurus. So maybe it's saying that when Mars moves into Sag, which is your second house, that just naturally, since Mars is your ancient ruler, you end up taking on more of this energy when that transit takes place. So that could be what it's pointing to there. Hopefully that resonated for you guys. In the position of your influence on the situation, we have the Four of Swords. So if there was some heartbreak situation there that we did see with that Three of Swords, to see the Four of Swords after it does show at least that you're making that progress and you are healing from it. However, that's from more of a proactive approach, like we mentioned possibly there, or more from just, you know what, let me just lay back and give it time, right? Where we see the Empress energy. Does look like you'd be healing either way. And maybe just trying to look at things from a different perspective, since again, for you guys, Libra is your 12th house. So, maybe you're just like, okay, what could I have done differently, right? One of those types of situations. There's nothing really going on in Libra. So, it's certainly possible that you could, all of this could be around some dealings you had with a Libra as well. Or since you guys are a Scorpio, of course, like let's say a lot of Scorpio suns will have their Mercury and or Venus in Libra. So that could just be pointing to that as well. In the environment position, we have the moon. So for some of you, this could just be, again, emphasizing that I feel like for some of you, something might have come to light for you around the time of the Gemini full moon. But beyond that, I mean, the moon's definitely going to be, pretty prominent in everyone's lives to an extent with the way that these lunar cycles are interacting with the other planets, So, like I said, there's actually going to be a new moon. Well, I'm recording this pretty much in mid-December, so there's going to be a new moon in Capricorn, which is your third house of communication, around the 26th of December or so. So that would be a pretty significant new moon for you guys if you do want to actually repair a relationship connection. So for those of you who watch this before January even starts, keep that in mind, because that new moon in Capricorn, that's your third house of communication, and it's going to be trine Uranus, which is in your opposite sign of Taurus. So especially if there was some kind of issue that took place when you had Mars in your sign opposing Uranus, like I said, maybe that was when this falling out might have happened with someone, you can get that back on track, or at least you'll have some supportive energy to get it back on track, I should say, around the time of that new moon. And maybe even a little before that, because we're going to have Jupiter in your third house of communication, and that's going to be trine Uranus in your opposite sign. So there's definitely some room to repair connections at this time. So something to keep in mind there. And if we look at this in a more mundane situation, it could just be pointing to the fact that, and that would explain the Nine of Swords energy, where there might still be some confusion around your environment, where you're not sure if you're seeing things clearly. So maybe now you feel a little bit more hesitant. Like I said, for those of you, maybe you were you're fearful of opening up to someone regarding emotions, right? Maybe you view them as one way, and maybe that's not actually how they are, or maybe you're starting to question if you're viewing them correctly. There's a few different ways it could be playing out. Hopes or fears, we have the Wheel of Fortune. I'm going to assume this is a hope for most of you, so this could just be saying, especially like I was saying, that we did have, well, basically this represents Jupiter energy, and now Jupiter has recently moved into your third house communication. So this could just be saying that you're hoping for a turnaround regarding communication, like I said, especially if there's someone you had a falling out with. Like I said, it could even be a family member, but that's what I'm seeing there. And then in the outcome position, we have the Six of Swords. So this is actually an Aquarius energy. It represents the middle 10 degrees of Aquarius. And there's going to be quite a bit of movement through those degrees through January. I think Venus and Mercury, and then, of course, the Sun will move through there as well in February. But yeah, that could even be pointing to that. For you guys, this is your fourth house. So maybe there could be some healing around family. Maybe going to visit family. A few different ways that could be playing out. But overall, this represents moving to calmer waters as well. So whatever falling out there may have been, especially given that we do see that healing energy with the Four of Swords, and now this as well, does look like it'll be a much calmer time for you guys, and you can possibly repair connections if you need to. All right, moving on to your oracle cards. First, we have Loyal Heart. There's the artwork for it, and the number is 35. Okay, it says fidelity, loyalty, devotion. The oracle's message. Evidence of loyalty will appear in your life. Others will prove they are faithful to you, and you will in turn commit fully to them. There is a sure and abiding certainty in your heart. Know that Spirit is always loyal to you. No matter the outer circumstances in your life, trust and have faith, for you are eternally loved, always divinely protected, and divinely directed. So, interesting message there, because that made me think of the Nine of Swords energy we see here, and also, like I was saying, the moon, where maybe you feel like you're not seeing things very clearly. So, the way I would interpret that message could be saying that, if intuitively you do feel like you should move forward with something, then maybe you should trust that. The relationship message says your partnerships, friendships, and romantic relationships all have many qualities in common right now. Honest devotion, faithfulness, and a loyal heart are being shown to you. Are you as loyal in return? Now is the time for heartfelt commitment and trusting in divine protection. So, yeah, and that makes me think more of this Queen of Cups energy, as far as, like I said, for those of you where maybe you feel a bit uncomfortable expressing your more feminine side, right? Your more feminine energy could just be asking you to open up. If that's the case, it looks like you do with the Empress in the near future, right? That's definitely much more open energy than the Queen of Cups. So maybe that full moon in your ninth house actually helps with that as well. All right, the prosperity message says your long-term loyalty to your goals is becoming evident in the world of conditions where your aspirations for success assume form and reality. Success is finally taking shape. If you are loyal to your dreams, faithful to your plans while remaining flexible and devoted to serving others, you will be shown proof of your true prosperity. This is a time for joyful celebration of spirit, your manifesting partner. So that's interesting there too. And, for some of you, maybe that does represent that you do receive some kind of a promotion. Maybe this could even be saying that you want that type of position, but maybe you're even fearful of expressing that you want that, right? So maybe it's saying that you would have to put some effort in that way to just even let people know, that you want your name and hat for that type of position. And then maybe this Empress could represent some more financial prosperity coming your way, especially when we do have Mars moving into your second house too. Maybe that'll energize that area for you. All right. Next we have Canary Spirit. It says sing your own song. There's the artwork for it, and the number is 12. Okay. It says, Canary Spirit arrives to help you find your authentic voice and express what is in your heart. Free yourself to experience your inner light and let it shine as Canary Spirit sings to remind you of your inherent joy and to support you as you sing your own song. Now is the time to let the world know who you really are. Canary Spirit's message is that you are free to be yourself and express your most cherished desires. The world wants to hear your song. If your inquiry is about a relationship, you're being called to fully be yourself, for only then will you find harmony and joy. You can make music with others so beautifully when your note rings true. So, definitely interesting there as well, because that could just be saying with the relationship aspect that, you are being encouraged to open up more, right? And it could just be as simple as maybe in a way you have to take the lead, which almost sounds contradictory to what we were saying, right? Like, I'm like, maybe you're too comfortable in that role, the masculine energy, but maybe it's like in other areas you are, but when it comes to emotionally taking the lead, maybe you're not comfortable with that, right? So maybe that could be what it is, as far as meaning that you're not comfortable being the first one to open up in certain situations. So maybe that's what's being called for there. Try to see if anything else comes to mind with that one. Well, and then also just opening up too, because before it even mentioned a relationship angle, it was just saying, let the world know what you want, right? Like I was saying, because that made me think back to what I was saying, that for some of you, maybe there is, you do want to move up in the ranks in your job, but maybe you just haven't even felt comfortable expressing that. So, like, if they don't know that you're even interested, then they might not think to offer those types of things to you. So, something to think about there. Alright, and the last thing we have is a mudra card. So the mudra you guys got for this month is Sumukha mudra. That's it right there. The keyword for it is coordination. And here's some info on it there. Alright, so under benefits it says balances left and right sides of the body, harmonizes all 5 elements, activates the body's self-healing power, benefits the tendons and bones, increases concentration power, builds devotion and spiritual resolve. So if that sounds like something you think would be helpful, I will put the name of that mudra in the description of the video so you can look into it some more. We'll wrap up there, guys. Happy New Year, and I'll see you all next month. Alright, bye.